It's become clear that the Matrix has come in waves of attack, and the BBC has taken a tremendous amount of humiliation. The BBC has been revealed as a propaganda organization, which is very costly. That's a very costly thing to have happen to the people that use the BBC as a control mechanism to program people's minds. Because a lot of people have woken up when they saw that scandalous, disgusting interview that was conducted by them when they brought that. She looked sort of like an emaciated woman to interview Andrew Tate and not ask him any honest questions, but just try to slander him in his own house. And then he, Aikida'd her perfectly. So obviously it went bad for them. But here they sent another reporter. This one's a little bit fat, so I don't know why they just have a bunch of freaks working at the BBC. Anyway, what happens here is interesting. He tries to talk to Andrew. Andrew Aikidos him perfectly. And he sort of just, slinks back into his depressed little shell of a life. And then he goes after Tristan Tate. Check it out.
Wow, thank you so much.
Făcută fericiți.
He's the best journalist here. He's the only one
No, I'm not
He's the number
a journalist.
one.
Thank
The
you.
rest are all fake news, like this guy who falls over.
Oh my god.
Fake
Vezi
news.
ușor.
That guy right there is the BBC reporter. Just so you guys know.
Dude,
This has been going on for so long. I don't know. Okay, so this is connected to other topics that I've been thinking intently about. But the left is in the midst of a divorce with morality and the ability to interface with objective reality itself. They're also divorcing their ability to interface with objective frameworks, and it's being pushed and encouraged in the ecosystems of left-wing degeneracy where they push postmodern neo-Marxist philosophy. They deny the existence of objective truth so that they can twist anything into the image of demonizing people in accordance with their ideology, because that's what their ideology does. The reason why men like Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate are targeted is because they are physical embodiments of the inadequacy, of the failure of the left-wing ideology to interface with objective frameworks. They're impressive to young men. They're unapologetically masculine. They speak their mind and they can't be controlled. All of these attributes enrage the leftist hive mind, because leftist hive mind has to have control. It has to have power. And when it gets reminded that it doesn't have power, it becomes enraged. The reason it becomes enraged and not just frustrated or annoyed is because it actually doesn't have a way of bridging itself from convincing somebody to agree with them and making sense, because their ideology is incoherent. So the only thing that they can do is say, you're a bad person unless you agree with our ideology. That's the only tool they have. That's the reason why demonization is so common for them. Also, by the way, a detail of postmodern neo-Marxism is they only believe in power hierarchies, power disparities between people. So when they look at Andrew Tate, they don't see a competent man, or at least they try to convince themselves they don't see a competent man. Instead, what they see is a man who has power that is resisting our by default virtue. Of course, it's counterfeit virtue, but that's what Marxism does, is it doles out counterfeit virtue to people that are part of the protected class. Because remember, Marxism has been transposed from just an economic classification in the 20th century into classifications of intersectionalism, which means race, sexual identity, gender identity, sexual attraction, and the list goes on and on. Every single category of human is put into a victim hierarchy, and then counterfeit virtue is doled out based on your place in the status hierarchy. So it's an inversion of truth. It's an inversion of true virtue, as a matter of fact. And that's why they find Andrew Tate so infuriating. Because it'd be very reasonable to ask yourself, why would they send a BBC reporter to go talk to Andrew Tate outside the courthouse when he's surrounded by people that support him and agree with him, after they got humiliated, not once, but twice, at his own house? They're not thinking rationally, they're not thinking logically. They're enraged, they're deranged.
How was your not too bad? It was good. It was nice. It was a nice sunny day.
la 3-3, adică. Toiletry.
You're always here. Who do you work for? I work for the BBC. Oh, the fake news.
See, they send their agent in the middle of a group of people that support Andrew Tate just to get mocked. It's not logical. So you know that they're infuriated. They're somewhat unhinged at the embarrassment they faced before.
He works for the fake news.
Why?
Where's Lucy?
And you also see the arrogance here, by the way, on the part of the BBC, because you see the narcissism of the radical left-wing position, which is, we are by default the good guys. Because think about the way they're handling themselves here.
Why is
And when I say they, I'm talking about the people that sent him to ask these propagandistic questions with no intent of engaging in dialogue or a coherent response, but just to ask the soundbite question. Where Andrew Tate in roleplay referred to one of his girlfriends as a slave. In roleplay. And she came out, by the way, saying that Andrew Tate is innocent and that she supports him. But the court said, no, we're not going to listen to you because we're not going to take into account the words of the supposed victims. That's another topic. Back to what I was saying. I can get carried away when it comes to the degeneracy of these insane people. Dude, it's disgusting. Anyway, you see the narcissism because the proclamation by the left is, we are by default the good guys. So we don't care about being seen and humiliated, even though they do care. They're going to act as though they don't care about being humiliated as the perpetrators of misinformation and incoherence and immorality. That's what they're admitting when they still act as the good guys after being exposed and humiliated in front of hundreds of millions as dishonest, degenerate hacks.
fake news?
Why is BBC fake news? I'll tell you why. Because
Why?
BBC is sponsored by the British government, which means it has no interest in informing the public, and has no interest in telling anyone the truth. It's only interested in enforcing narratives which the government decide, the shadow figures behind decide.
Yeah, it is a propaganda wing for select few people. It is a propaganda wing for people that are controlling things. And guys, I want you to engage in a thought experiment if you find the notion that there are very powerful people controlling the world difficult to believe. Think about the richest person you know. And then when you think about that richest person that you know that they have more power than you. You know that they have probably more influence than you, okay? And you can see the disparity, the difference between you and that person that you can think of. Now, I want you to double that. So double that their influence, their connections, and their money. Think how powerful they would be then. There are people with 10,000 times that amount of money and that amount of power in the world today. Given that scale, when you scale that up, it is not difficult or hard to believe at all that there are people that control entire continents, that control thousands of news organizations, thousands of local news organizations. They control judges, they control court systems in some cases. This is what it means to live in the modern era, where instead of having kings and lords with armies, we have men that wield resources and capitalism. That's what we replace conquest with. We replace conquest with the new, modernized, civilized conquest with men becoming rich and powerful without having to kill each other. That's what you get instead. And that's where you get people that control the BBC as just a proliferary arm of their, reach and influence. Andrew Tate, to whoever is controlling the BBC, definitely embodies a bunch of attributes that they find infuriating. Probably the fact that he's unapologetically masculine, in shape, and respected by men. Just those alone would be enough to enrage most old, fat billionaires.
They want you to believe the Matrix in charge uses the mainstream media, which they fund, to purport
The pathetic fat beta is trying to talk over Andrew Tate, but no one is even listening to what he's saying.
lies on the population. And then what you have is people who are not in particularly good shape, slightly obese, turn up with GoPros working for these organizations. Fake news. What was your expectations for today? My expectations to go home and have a coffee.
Situation? Human traffickers. That's exactly what's happened to me. And the people who human traffic me know who they are.
Oh, come again.
It's interesting. The left inverts truth. What they actually did, they accused the Tates of human trafficking, but then they human trafficked the Tates by imprisoning them and keeping them confined. That's human trafficking, controlling people's bodily movement and keeping them from leaving. And they did it on completely fake charges. I posted on Twitter, and it's very easy to find. You can go to the Fresh and Fit Rumble account, where they bring on the lawyer from Fresh and Fit, and they uncover a bunch of details and information about the case that unequivocally prove their innocence. if anyone's skeptical, you can find that. But oh, and by the way, guys, speaking of Rumble, go follow my Rumble and follow me on Twitter as well, and like and retweet my post because I'm shadow banned on Twitter. I messaged the X team, and they're like, "Sorry, we can't deal with this because we're swamped." I'm like, bruh, just I thought Elon fixed this shit. Anyway.
BBC, right?
Yes, I am.
I'm just being real with you guys, dude. Just follow my Twitter, bro.
Or the
Slay
BBC.
the bitches.
So you
still
get the.
believe
So,
that?
what's it?
Okay. This is important. He's asking Tristan Tate about the roleplay conversation he had with his girlfriend, where he referred to her as a slave.
And the people who human traffic me know who they are.
Oh, come again. Slay
You're the
those
BBC, right?
bitches. Yes, I am.
Or the
Slay
BBC.
the bitches.
So you get
still
the.
believe
So,
that?
what's it? So you get the indictment.
He's asking Tristan Tate if he still believes to enslave the bitches, as if that's a question, or as if that's a position that he had. Dude, can you imagine if like roleplay conversations were asked as serious questions? Is your position? Oh, dude, that's really funny. That's really funny. That's hilarious. I mean, I'm not gonna out myself as to the things that I like to say, but just imagine what you like to say in roleplay or whatever, and then imagine if a reporter came up to you and asked you in a serious manner, is this your position? Do you still stand by this position as if it's
Right?
Yeah.
Which is supposed to be evidence I'm a human trafficker.
Correct.
And I called my ex-girlfriend, who says I'm innocent, a slave in the file. That's the big bombshell. Aren't you
Slay those
underwhelmed?
bitches. Did you say that or
Aren't
not?
you underwhelmed?
bro?
Did you say that?
BBC is such a joke at this point. And no one's taking them seriously in this setting, around the courthouse, but no one's taking them seriously in the greater ecosphere either. The only people, and are they really people? Because they're more like fake bot accounts with anime profiles on Twitter that are just reposting the endless Andrew Tate hate. They're the same people that were deranged and enraged with his existence before. They're the same depraved H3 fans, or I should call them L3 fans, that endlessly lie with no regard for reality. By the way, isn't it interesting how the L3 fans ended up being communists and radical leftists that are taking the side of terrorists? It's all connected. People that hate reality hate Andrew Tate. People that hate reality hate unapologetic masculinity, because masculinity is an apparatus. It is a sophisticated mechanism to overcome the degeneracy of the left.
Did I call my ex-girlfriend a slave in the indictment? Yes.
slave
She
those bitches.
is fighting for my innocence, and she knows I'm innocent. She's told all the judges and courts of decode I'm innocent. Is the fact that you can get your hands
And see, the reporter's silent when he says that, because what can he say? No, that's not true. Look, people are waking up to this fact, so I don't really have to harp on it too much. But the mainstream news institutions aren't reporting news at all. They're trying to get you to believe things by emotional triggers. We're going to call the tall, rich, masculine man a bad person, human trafficker, and we're just going to hope that you believe and throw out the expectation for vetting ideas. And the reason we're going to have that expectation is because we are hoping that you've already been ensnared, captured by the radical left-wing ideology, and coerced into agreeing with them at the gunpoint of being called a bad person.
on the indictment. You losers at the BBC, you pedophile harborers.
Yeah.
And the worst thing.
They actually they employed a pedophile, and it got leaked. It's disgusting. And then they ran news articles saying to leave him alone because he was gonna cry or something. It was beyond comprehension. Just completely disgusting. And yeah, they're not honest at all.
You find in
they're hypocrites.
Isn't anyone kidnapped, anyone chained up, anyone tied up? The fact that I called a girl who still loves me my slave and isn't a victim, you are so pathetic.
You said slave those bitches.
Dude, it's just a loop. It's just a loop. He can't engage with ideas because the left is only given sound bites, talking points. They're given emotional sound bites to slander people, to demonize anyone they disagree with. That's how they operate. We're going to repeat something just in hopes that anyone demonizes Andrew Tate, just in hopes that they're going to say he's a bad person. And the people, by the way, the people that are likely to harbor and abide by this radical left-wing tyranny, this radical left-wing authoritarianism, the research has been done. That proclivity is correlated with a feminine temperament and a low verbal IQ. Feminine temperament, unlikely to engage with objective reality, and it's all its multifaceted components, and then the low verbal IQ, not being able to engage in conversation, just repeating the soundbite in hopes that you will demonize, engage in the demonization and slandering of any person that the radical left deems a bad person. And people with low verbal IQs have a hard time engaging with ideas. They can't look further than soundbites, or it's very difficult for them to. That's why likelihood to abide in radical left-wing tyrannies is correlated with a feminine temperament and low verbal IQ. So that's why you see so many women, especially women without fathers who are feminists and, you know, fat with blue hair. They are Andrew Tate haters, not just because they're freak shows, but because they never actually developed a high verbal IQ. So they're moldable, they're soft, they're easy to radicalize because their brains are much.
12 hours or more.
You're a bitch.
Tristan, it's been
Is that
almost
correct?
a year since
Fuck this guy.
you've been...
Wait, what's he doing?
Nothing.
Don't talk to me. Nah, please.
Andrew Tate asked what's he done. That's interesting. I wonder what he would have done.
Talk to me. Nah, please.
been
Wait, what's he doing?
Nothing.
Don't talk to me. Nah, please.
To come again in the 5.
It's so funny how everyone sees them as corrupt. Everyone sees the BBC as pathetic. And the only people that see Andrew Tate and Tristan as guilty admit to not caring about facts, admit to not caring about reality, and are the exact same people who are communists and supporting terrorist organizations calling for the downfall of Israel as we speak. It's crazy. Subscribe to the channel, guys. Please subscribe to the channel. I want to get to 1,000 subscribers. And I want you guys to join in this journey.